Hi, I'm Nisha DeGaring, host of Good Things Utah, and I've been a longtime supporter of Todd's Beliefcast. I hope you find inspiration in the courageous stories shared by the amazing people Todd features on his show. The guests serve as shoulders for us to stand on, allowing us to see a little further and cultivate belief in oneself. Remember, you have the dignity and power to change. I encourage you to keep striving and believing in yourself. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester, your host of the Beliefcast. As always, thank you for tuning in and thank you for believing in what I'm doing here. It really does mean the world to me. A shout out to my sponsors. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. I've got Craig Swap and Associates, Wasatch Recovery, Minky Couture, and Paul Cardall. The beautiful music that you hear in the beginning and the end of this is my good friend. He allows us to use a portion of his song, and he's an award-winning pianist and one of my heroes in my life. So thank you, Paul, for letting us use your music. So today on the Beliefcast, I sit down with a man who knows what it means to lead others. Steve Cutler spent years coaching elite performers, executives, champions, and leaders, but behind the tailored suit was a man who knew he had settled for mediocrity in his own life. After panic attacks, chronic pain, burnout, and the hard truth in the mirror, Steve had made a decision that changed everything. Stop lying to himself and evolve. This conversation is going to be about leadership, identity, discipline, health, honesty, and becoming the most powerful version of yourself. If you ever known you were capable of more, this episode is going to be for you. Steve is a speaker, a podcaster, a trainer. He's a father, a husband, and just an overall amazing human being. So Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional as I'm saying this because I've known Steve a long, long time. He's been my trainer for many, many years. And most recently, over the last 3 years, he's been training me, and I'm the best version of myself because of Steve. And I really mean that on every level. It's not just about getting physically fit. Steve has helped me with my mental game. He's all about what's the story you're telling yourself. And I remember one time, Steve, it was at the beginning of when I signed up training with you just recently. I was like, I looked at you, I go, this isn't fun. And you're like, well, it's not supposed to be fun because you were just killing me. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like a stretch you were having me do it. And I just was in pain and I really wasn't having any fun. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, why am I not having fun? But you're like, well, it's not really supposed to be right now, Todd. We're trying to change. Anyway, so we have a lot to talk about, my friend. And you've done some amazing things in your life. You had a challenge that you gave yourself at turning 50. We're going to talk about that. So again, so glad to have you on the show. This is the second time, I think, or third time you've been on the show.
Yeah, I think third time now.
Is it the third time? Heck yeah. So
great to be back. Yeah. Always love chatting with you, and I always love our conversations, both in person and on the podcast.
Yeah. No, I love it. I have probably learned more from you when I think about the people in my life than anyone else, honestly, because I think I've spent the most time outside of my family is with you.
Yeah. It's pretty wild to think about,
right?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been wonderful. So for those who may not know you, Steve, why don't we just give a little more background on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I consider myself more of an entrepreneur. I sit in the fitness space. One of my businesses is a fitness coaching business. So I provide health and fitness coaching and consulting for high performers like you. So ranging from strength training programs, cardio programs, nutrition programs, all the way up through hormones, peptides. I mean, anything you need to get the results that you want, and results that maybe have eluded you before, right? So a lot of people cycle through certain processes. That process may be, I'm going to pick a diet, I'm going to go on that diet, then I'm going to lose some weight, and then the process returns back to, I don't like this, I hate it, I'm going to go back to the way I ate before. And the 5 and 10 pounds that you used to lose all the time as you get older turn into the 10 and 20 pounds that you continue to lose and gain back. And so what I do in the fitness coaching business is help people to break through by identifying what those blockers and barriers are between the ears. And so it's not about just the food. It's not about the movement. It's about understanding what's keeping you from making that evolution. You know, a few years ago, I asked the question of, can we really evolve as human beings? Meaning that, can we stop going through that same cycle over and over again in our personal lives? And can we stop repeating the same cycles as society and truly evolve into something else? And so that's why my business is called Evolve, because it's focused on helping people craft their next level evolution. And so people who I work with, they do really well when they get curious. The people who are just looking for that next try of, I'm going to try that next diet, or I'm going to try that next thing, they don't do well because we're just doing the same process over and over again. They see it as a diet. They see it as a workout program. And they fail to understand that the real change happens in the gray. It happens between the ears.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. And, again, for those who don't know Steve, I mean, you're one of the most knowledgeable guys I think I've ever met when it comes to what you just described. You don't just teach it, you live it. And that to me means a lot. And I think every time I leave a session with you, I'm just going, dang, how does he know all that stuff? And it's so spot on too. And how can you look at me? Like, I remember one time you're like, okay, what's the story you're telling yourself right now about this lift? And I think we were doing some deadlifts, and I was hitting my shins, and I was just, you could see, I wasn't saying anything, but you could tell I was telling myself something. And I think I told you, I'm just saying this sucks. And you're like, you got to change that story, because if you don't, you're not going to evolve in this lift. And, I had never deadlifted before.
Right.
And so again, you're just one of the most knowledgeable guys. I just wish more people knew about you, because dude, you know so much. If people only knew. If you want to really change your life, sign up with Steve. And I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here. He's changed my life. And I want to share an example. 3 years ago, I'm on a beach in Hawaii, in Kauai. And I'm skinny fat at this time. I'm lifting with my, son-in-laws and my son, and trying to keep up with them. And, I think I'm fairly strong. I'm doing a little bit of cardio, nothing serious, but I'm in pain. I'm hurting. My shoulders hurt, my knees hurt. And I called you from that vacation, if you remember. And I said, dude, sign me up. I'm in. Let's go. I want to get back to training with you. And I get back from that vacation. And over the last 3 years, I've done 3 Spartans. I've done 2 marathons, and not only just do them, I rocked at them, and I'm the strongest I've been in my life. I've got flexibility in my hips and strength in my hips that I never thought was even possible. I don't even know what to say, but dude, you changed my life.
It's amazing what you did. I mean, to put it in perspective, so for anybody that's never seen a Spartan, I would encourage them to go online and look at the challenges that it takes to do a Spartan, right? Yeah. Carrying, lifting, hiking, all the things that it takes to do a Spartan. Not only did you do a Spartan, but I think that first year we got, 48, 49 minutes off of your time,
yes,
right? We carved out almost an entire hour off of your time.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, you did the marathon. And that was something that was kind of this curveball that you threw at me. You finished the Spartan. You were like one of those clients like, hey, by the way, I signed up for a marathon. And knowing how your body was so beat up, I said, okay, we can get you there, but it's going to be non-traditional. And so if you recall, we had you doing elliptical machine for some of your zone 2 training, because I needed to save your knees for your longer runs.
Yeah.
We needed to, so we took a non-traditional approach, but knowing you had base cardio, I knew we could get you there.
Yeah.
So not only did you do it, but you killed the time for your first marathon. That was unbelievable. I mean, I was watching these numbers, and I just kept getting a bigger and bigger smile as I saw what your numbers were looking like as I'm tracking you while you're doing the marathon. And then fast forward, the next year we said, hey, to get you a little bit faster, we really got to focus on flexibility, because you got to have a more efficient stride. You're already running, but let's get you a more efficient stride. And what was it, an hour knocked off of the marathon, right? So you've achieved some amazing things through an approach that I think many people would think would be non-traditional. I think a traditional approach would be I jump on TikTok, I jump on YouTube, I watch a video, I listen to a guy who tells me how to lift this way. It doesn't work. I have aches and pains. and then I go back to my old fat self, right? And I'm grumpy because I'm, and then I blame it on age. That's traditional. Yeah. I'm old. I'm in pain because I'm old. I'm fat because I'm old. I'm, X, Y, Z because of this. You've done some amazing things by taking an obtuse approach to something, but it's the approach that's right for you, right? It's not a pre-prescribed, let's stick a square peg in a round hole concept. Right. Yeah. We've created something that's very bespoke. It's very customized for you.
Absolutely.
And that's where, flexibility, come back to that. I think you were probably, maybe 6 months old was the last time you were able to touch your toes.
You're right.
And then at age 55 or 56, you touched your toes bending, for the first time, right?
Yeah, yeah. And, and what you helped me the most with was my mental game. Yeah. Attacking the Spartan and the marathon was such a powerful mental focus. Mm-hmm. And I knew the physical was there. I had confidence in what we had done. Right. But it was you helped me with this, my mental game. I'm pointing to my mind right now, and so you really are amazing. But you didn't get here on accident where you're at. Mm-hmm. You've been through your own struggles. We talked about panic attacks, chronic pain. You felt burnout. Yep. And you had to, let's talk about this, that moment you had to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. Will you talk about that and just give us a little background on the struggle?
Yeah, so several years ago, I was traveling the country. I was speaking to larger groups. I was doing a lot of leadership growth or leadership development and helping people to understand what it took to become a better leader. The company that I was working for at the time, I was sitting in a really unique role where I would train leaders primarily in the Western United States for this company, but then I would go back to our corporate office and help to elevate all of the new managers. And myself and my business partner that I was working with at our corporate office at the time, we ran the entire program for training all of the general managers of the facilities. Okay. And so there was a lot of travel involved. There was a lot of, late nights and long. I was on the road one time for, 14 days straight. Didn't see my family during that entire time. Then I would come home, I'd be home, and then I would travel again. I joked about trying to get second residency in Minnesota because one day when I added up all my time there, it was like I had spent a total of about 3 or 4 months living in a hotel in Minnesota. Man. And one moment, I was driving down the road on my way to a speaking event and a coaching event that I was doing with the company. And here I am in the middle of Denver, and I'm stuck in gridlock traffic. And I'm looking at my clock, and I'm thinking, I've got to be here by this time. Am I going to get through this traffic? Yeah. And I just started to feel something I'd never felt before in my entire life. My face went flush, my heart rate went through the roof, and I felt like I was going to explode from the inside out. And I'm looking around, and I'm feeling terrified. Now, if you know me, you know I'm not the type of guy that gets scared. Right. I've had a guy break into my house before, handle that calmly. I've had several situations of running gyms where we had people that were having a heart attack or a stroke or in those situations, cool as a cucumber. Right. So this was a very new thing for me to experience this sense of fear and panic and anxiousness. And what happened was, as I'm looking around, I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? Yeah. The only thing that my mind would tell me was get out of the car, leave the car, and just start walking towards the mountains. Now, if you're in downtown Denver, I don't know how far away those mountains are, probably 30 or 40 miles, right? But you can see them out in the distance. Right. That seemed like a very logical thing, to just get out of the car, leave my rental there, skip everything, and just go to the mountains. And what I learned later in understanding what happened is I had been not taking care of my body while I was out helping others to grow and develop. Yeah. And so by not taking care of my body, there were several layers of disappointment, several layers of shame, several layers of frustration, several layers of what I felt like was just an inauthenticity, where I was talking to people about becoming a leader of self and then becoming a more powerful leader of others. And yet I would come up with every excuse in the book to not get my workout in on that day.
Yeah.
Well, that's not leader of self, right?
Yeah.
Then at the end of the day, when I was tired and exhausted, I would say, well, yeah, okay, I'm going to go eat this treat.
Yeah.
And so my food wasn't supportive. And then I started to develop just unhealthy habits. And I looked in the mirror one day and I looked down at the scale, and then I looked in the mirror and thought, well, you're fat. You look like garbage. And I could hide behind the suits. Like tailored suits made me look phenomenal.
Yeah.
And people would look at me, and because I've got a small frame, when I'd say, yeah, I'm fat and out of shape, they're like, whatever. But
Yeah, they'd roll their eyes.
Yeah.
Come on.
But I had 30 extra pounds of body fat that I was carrying. I could barely move. I was in chronic pain. My knees would hurt. My hips would hurt. My back would hurt. My shoulders would hurt.
Yeah.
But I finally just said, I've got to get real, because at this age, I can either go one of two ways. I can either accept it and just say, well, this is my age and this is my body.
Because I'm old.
Yeah. And I remember one day just saying, okay, well, I'm gonna try on that concept of acceptance and just accept where I'm at. How do I feel? And so I tucked my shirt in, and I looked down and I saw the little belly and I saw the love handles, and I was like, I'm going to accept this and be proud of this. And I tried that on for a couple of weeks, and I felt horrible. Like, it was awful. I didn't feel authentic. I didn't feel real. It didn't feel like it matched up with my values, because in every other area of life, I'm pushing, I'm driving, I'm striving to get better. You know, I'm looking at what's our same store sales growth for this entity. What are we doing to improve? Like, there's metrics that I'm looking at to improve. And yet in my body, I was backsliding. And so the idea wasn't, it just didn't make sense to live with this sense of acceptance.
Right.
Now, what I could do is say, I'm accepting where I'm at right now, that this is what I created. I'm taking full accountability for my creation. This isn't age. This isn't genetics. This isn't anything else.
Right.
And once I did that, I asked the question, well, what could I accomplish? If I stopped making excuses, if I stopped just accepting, what could I accomplish?
Love that.
And that question spurred me on. And so from that question, I started making commitments to myself to do certain things. And I remember that I told myself I was going to hit at least 10,000 steps per day, every single day for the next whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then the 10,000 a day turned into 12, and then it was 15, and then it was 20, because I knew that if I just kept working, something was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I remember one day, it's in the middle of winter, and we had a lot of stuff going on. We had parties, we had, get-togethers, we were bouncing here, bouncing there. I come back home, and I look, and I'm shy of my goal. And I think, I have not been shy of my goal up to this point. I haven't missed my step goal.
Sure, yeah.
So what can I do? What am I going to do? It was literally 11:40 at night. I said, day's not over. And here I am in a T-shirt and jeans, and it's cold and snowy outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't have time to change. I threw on boots, I threw on a jacket, and I went outside and I ran. And I ran as fast as I could around the block several times. And I kept checking and kept checking. And at 11:58, as the clock turned to 11:59, I hit my goal for that day. And I went home and realized that there's more in me than I've ever given myself credit for if I just stop telling a story and I start asking questions. What could I accomplish if I just committed? And that was a turning point for me. And so in my mid-40s, I went from being an overweight, 30-pound overweight guy, to getting my abs back, to getting out of the chronic pain, to finally fixing my digestive and gut health issues, which was a big part of what was causing those anxiety panic attacks, right? It's the gut-brain axis is all tied together. And I finally realized that this next part of life, however long this goes, is up to me. I can choose. But like everybody else, even though I was a fitness professional, a leadership professional, I started to believe everything that people were saying about, when you get older, this happens and that happens. Well, as soon as I started testing those theories, I realized that it's all about accountability. It's all about what you choose to do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about the goal, and it wasn't about the story. It was about the question.
Yeah.
The question made all the difference.
Wow. And that question, man, the world needs to hear that again. I wrote it down because I was like, what could I do if I stopped making excuses?
Yeah.
Whoa. It sounds so simple, but it's so powerful at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm 57. I'm running marathons. I never thought in a million years I would do that.
Right.
But you taught me that very concept. Quit doubting yourself. Quit having these excuses. Age doesn't matter unless you tell yourself it does.
Right.
And I was like, huh? You know? And anyway, I love that. The other thing that comes to mind is, you talk about the discipline piece. And I think, what are your thoughts on this? I've heard this before, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but self-discipline is the greatest evidence that you love yourself.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
So I think that most of us don't know what it means to have love of self.
Mm-hmm.
We can look at a Reese's peanut butter cup and say we love that. Yeah. We can look at our wives, our girlfriends, our kids, and say we love them.
Yeah.
And we use the same word for those things. But we get squeamish when we talk about this idea of loving ourselves.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I teach my clients is I don't want you to just jump into this woo-woo idea of learning to love yourself. Because, when you think about love yourself, the first thing that comes to mind for most people listening to this is, oh, I'm going to go take a nice warm bath. Oh, I'm going to eat that food. Oh, I'm going to go get my nails done. Like whatever it is, right? Whatever the quote-unquote self-care industry has told you that loving yourself is. Well, that's not it. The way that you develop love, and let me back up for just a second. I believe that the two most powerful forces in the universe are love and compounding interest.
Yeah.
And the reason I say those two things is because when you have love conquers everything. You don't go to the gym because you have to. If you learn how to love yourself, you go to the gym because of your love for self, your love of your life, your love. You're not motivated. You didn't have to wake up when you were a dad to be motivated to go take care of your kids, right? You love your kids. So of course you're going to go do it, right? You don't have to wake up to be motivated to take the trash out for your wife. You just do it because you love her, right? Yeah. Love is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. And the second is compounding interest. And we talk about compounding interest. If you haven't done this before, you jump online and just Google compound interest calculator and start with $100 and compound that at 10% annualized return. And look at what that chart looks like over the next 30 years, okay? Yeah. What happens is your money grows very, very slowly at first, and then at a certain point it J-curves. Well, compound interest isn't just something that lives in the financial and the economic space. It lives in the physical world as well. If I'm doing pull-ups, let's say that I learn how to do a pull-up today, and I do one pull-up. Well, what happens if I keep doing pull-ups? Well, in 6 months, I might be able to do 5. In a year, maybe I'm up to 7. But there's a point where it J-curves. Yeah. There's a point where the compound effect happens, and now you go from 7 to 15. You go from 15 to 20. Now, all of a sudden, you become so much stronger, and the compounding builds. But it only does it if you continue to invest in yourself. Yeah. And so I say love and compounding interest are the two most powerful forces in the universe. And what I tell my clients is the way you get started on that is start by observing, right? I always talk about observation, appreciation, and then love. So if you want to learn how to love yourself, start by observing things. Like, ask the question, if I were to observe something about myself today that I could maybe appreciate, maybe I don't appreciate it right now, but if I could observe something that's good or beneficial or that I could appreciate, what would that be? And so maybe I look in the mirror and I say, I'm breathing. Okay, I can observe that. That's a positive, right? Yeah. And then later I could maybe appreciate the fact that breath is what keeps me alive. Mm-hmm. It's really when I take my first breath and then when my last breath goes out, that's when I die, right? Yeah. But with breath, it does it automatically. So then I could start to appreciate the fact that I don't even need to think about my breath. But when I do think about my breath, I can slow it down and create more calm. I can speed it up and create power. So I can appreciate my breath more because it's automatic, but it's also controllable. Okay, so if I can observe something about myself that then I can appreciate, well, then over time I could probably learn how to love that. And then what happens is you stack these things, you compound these things, and you look in the mirror and you say, oh, I can appreciate that my arm raises. That allows me to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
That allows me to lift it up. That allows me to pull in the rope from the boat. That allows me to swing the rope around and throw it out to the person that's going wakeboarding. And over time, you can appreciate another thing about yourself. And then as you observe, appreciate, and then down the road, you get to the point where you can start to love. And as you love all the parts and pieces of yourself, then you learn to just love yourself as an entity, as a human, as a spiritual being.
Yeah.
But you don't, it's really weird and awkward to just say, I love myself, when you don't even understand, observe, appreciate all of the different things that make you you.
Yeah.
Right? It's super weird. It's super awkward. It's like when you meet somebody and they walk up and they give you a hug, like, I love you. And you're like, super weird. I don't know you.
Don't
right?
even know you.
So if you don't know yourself, you don't observe these things, you don't appreciate those things, then the idea of saying you love yourself just feels really inauthentic.
Yeah.
And authenticity is not what lives in the past. We often talk about authenticity, and neuroscience teaches us this, that when we feel like something is authentic, it's because it lives in our past, right? Wearing Jordans feels authentic to you because, like we were talking about yesterday, that's what we grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up wearing Jordans.
Yeah.
And so putting those shoes on takes us back to our history, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a piece of authenticity that lives in the past. Real authenticity lives deeper. Real authenticity is not just the past, but it's the totality of what we have the ability to become.
Yeah.
And so if I want to really become authentic, I have to understand these things about myself. And so instead of telling myself a story, I observe the things that are good. And then later on, I can tell myself a story of, oh, wait a minute, if my legs work and I can function and I can walk and I can run, could I run 5 miles? Well, I've done 5 miles. Could I run 10? Could I do this?
Right.
And that's where we start to become authentic, not just about what was, but about what could be.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. I love that. And again, this is Steve, guys. This is what he knows, man. It's good stuff. And that J curve, I remember you told me, you know, I couldn't even do a pull up. I couldn't even hang at a bar, honestly, guys. For like
Your shoulders
my shoulders hurt
painful.
so bad I couldn't even hang. So Steve said, buy a chin up bar for your house. It's right there in my bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, just when you walk past it, just try to do one pull up, and just once a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing that, you know, and then finally I got to, I could do one pull up, you know, then I got to 2 and 3, 4, 5, and 3 years later, I can do 10 perfectly formed pull-ups.
What's the most weight we got
pain.
you to? Because we started hanging weight on you.
45 pounds.
45 pounds, right?
45-pound weight that I had around my waist that I could do a one solid, good formed pull-up. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
it's
and amazing.
Again, it's the compound interest concept. So,
which most guys in their 50s can barely hang from a bar.
Yeah.
Most guys in their 50s could not do one pull-up. You're now able to do a pull-up with a 45-pound plate. You're able to do 10-plus clean pull-ups.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had you doing some dirty pull-ups, you could probably do 15 to 20, right? I mean,
sure. Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty amazing. Well, man, you know, you're also a very goal-oriented person. I know you really thrive on that kind of stuff. And this year, you decided to set a goal that was so big that you had a 50% chance of failing. And that's and for you and someone who's been a trainer and this and that, the goal has to be pretty damn big.
Yeah.
And so I'd love you to share this story because, man, there's a lot of things that went on with this that you've learned, and people might be a little surprised what happened.
Yeah.
So please share that with us.
So I would say a year or two ago, I would agree with the statement that I'm a goal-oriented guy because I was. But I've learned that in my evolution, I don't do well with goals. I also used to be a guy that would use affirmations, and then I realized that didn't work.
I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the incredible sponsors of the Beliefcast podcast. First, Craig from Craig Swap and Associates. If you need an attorney, he's your guy. Trustworthy, compassionate, always there when you need him most. Next, Wasatch Recovery, the greatest university on the planet, transforming lives one day at a time. Sandy from Minky Couture, the creative genius behind the most comfortable blanket you'll ever wrap yourself in. Comfort like no other. Special thanks to the award-winning pianist Paul Cardall for his beautiful music that brings inspiration to every episode.
Well, they do now, but I'd use them in a different way. If you were to read the affirmation that's on my phone, it would make you laugh, because it's like an anti-affirmation. So I've shifted from goals to questions, and from goals to challenges. And so what I did was I asked myself, so late in 2024, I looked at myself and thought, okay, I'm in pretty good shape, but how functional is it? In early 2024, I asked the question of, could I learn how to do some calisthenic moves? Could I learn how to do a human flag? Could I learn how to do a planche? Could I learn how to do a front lever? Some of these cool tricks. Yeah. And so I started practicing those, and I got to the point where I could, do a front lever really well, hold that for a long time, and then human flag, and I'm still working on my planche. That one's okay at this point. But then I thought, but there's locomotion, there's movement. What would happen if I just went out and ran a 5K? And I hadn't run a 5K in over a decade. Yeah. I mean, I consider myself to be a sprinter. I ran the 1, the 2, and the 4 when I was younger. Yeah. And I've always said that while I coach endurance athletes, I'm allergic to it myself. The idea of doing a marathon just makes me break out in hives. And so as a former sprinter and never endurance runner, I thought to myself, what do I suck at? And if I set a challenge and asked a question in the area that I suck at, what could happen? And so as a never distance runner, I said, okay, what would happen if I went and did a 5K race? So I took 3 months, I mapped out a plan, and I started running, and I went and ran a 5K in March of 2025. And when we finished up and, I looked at what my results were, I'd taken second place in my age group, and I literally busted out loud laughing. My wife looked at me. She goes, I thought you were going to come in like 10 minutes later than when you did come in. Yeah. I said, I did too. That's what I told you. I laughed when I got second place and thought, okay, I think I'm onto something with this challenge question thing. Yeah. So after that, I was looking for something, and I was kind of in this funk. I wasn't sure what the next challenge would be, but one of the things that I do for my clients is I challenge them to an annual challenge that is what I call a 50-50 challenge. And what that 50-50 challenge is, I say, I want you to set a goal, set a challenge for yourself that you've got a 50% chance of achieving and a 50% chance of failing at. Mm-hmm. And the reason that's so important is it's only when there's maybe a 50-50 shot that you're really going to have to grow as a human being to become something different. Right. The only way we evolve is when we're pushed to the point where we could fail. And so that's scary for a lot of guys. Now, I challenged all of my clients to do this for, I think, 2-3 years in a row. Out of every single client that I have, and I have about rotating anywhere between 25 and 30 clients on my books at any given point in time. And so rough and tough, I think the year that I had decided that I was going to challenge myself in my own 50-50 challenge, I had 32 people on my in my books. Out of those 32 people, I had 2 that took the challenge. You were one of them. It blew me away. And we're not talking about some schlub that's working at McDonald's. Right. We're talking about CEOs, doctors, people who are running companies, high-performing people, right? Yeah. 2 out of 32 took the challenge. And so I thought, all right, it's time to throw the gauntlet down. Right. I need a different challenge. And so one day I was ruminating, I was frustrated. I said to my wife, hey, can we go for a walk? Well, we went for a walk, And we show up at the park that's right above our house, and we see this race going on. I'm like, what is this race? So I look it up. Turns out it's a midweek trail race series. Every Wednesday night, they go to different locations and they race. 5 miles, 9 miles, kind of the average, right? Short course, long course. Well, I just finished a 5K, and that felt pretty tough. And so I thought, I could probably do a 5 mile without my legs falling off, but I don't know.
Right.
So the next day I woke up, I went on their website, I looked at what people raced the night before, and I went and ran that 5 miles. And when I made it through, I thought, yeah, I could do this. So I signed up for their next race. I based my time off of what I did for that original 5 miles, went out and raced, and when I finished up, I was about 20, 30 minutes faster than what I had predicted that I would be. So I felt pretty good about it. Then I looked on the website and realized that I was probably 128th or 129th out of everybody that raced there.
Yeah.
So there was over 125 people that beat me. I got super excited by that because what made me feel good was that I sucked and there were people way better than me, which meant that I was in the right space.
Yeah.
I was in the space to become a beginner and to become, to learn. And most guys at 49 don't run towards becoming a beginner. They run from it. They want to reap everything that they've learned in life. I didn't want that. I wanted a challenge. So I committed to doing those races. And then at the end of or about midway through, I should say, I started to think, okay, these are great, but I still don't have my 50-50 challenge set up. And I couldn't figure out what that would be. I'd already set a 50-50 challenge to, achieve my human flag and some of these other things that I was trying. And I said, okay, what is this going to be? So I'm talking to a guy. I meet a guy who had won a few 100-mile races. And I looked at him and I said, how do you do this? That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't know. I just go run with my friends and have fun. I'm like, okay, bad answer.
Right.
That doesn't help me. And he paused for a second. He said, why don't you sign up for the half marathon trail run that's in September? I'm like, cool. I didn't know what that was. I looked it up, signed up. I did that. When I finished, I started thinking to myself, okay, there's got to be more. If I can do this, and I can do this with only training for about a year, what else could I do? What would challenge me? So I had a few ideas ruminating in my head. And then one night, in the middle of the night, as happens every once in a while, I get this weird text from my son. My son will always send me random weird texts. This one was, hey, Dad, we're just at Buffalo Wild Wings. And one of my buddies decided that he's going to go do a 50-mile race. And I signed up too. Can you train me? I wake up the next morning and I'm like, dude, you've never run more than a mile. Have you even run a mile? He's like, yeah, I've run a mile a couple times. And you're going to do 50? Yeah, will you help me? Sure. So then that gets my wheels turning.
Okay, yeah.
And I wake up the next day and I say, hey, I've got an idea. I'll train you for this. I'll coach you for sure. What do you think about the old man joining you on this? Because I'm looking for a 50-50 challenge. And I've got a question in my mind. Could I do 50 miles on a grueling trail race before I turn 50? So option A, I train you. Option B goes, B, come do it with us. Great.
Nice.
So I signed up for this trail race. It's apparently one of the hardest trail races in Moab, Utah, that they do throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
So I sign up and have these complete panic attacks where I'm waking up at 2, 3 in the morning for the next probably 3 weeks. Like, what did I sign up for?
Yeah.
What do I need to prepare for? And I start training. And I work hard for months and months and months. And then at some point, I'm out on a trail, and about 400 yards from my truck, I hit a patch of ice and I go down hard. And when I went down so hard that I knew something was wrong, but my adrenaline was going and I didn't know what.
Yeah.
And I looked at my finger and thought, yeah, that's probably not normal. Well, went to the doctor because my finger had swollen up to the size of like 2 or 3 fingers.
Yeah.
They said, yeah, you probably just strained it. Doesn't look like from the x-rays that it's broken, but it's so swollen we need to get it down. So I started going to rehab for that and, doing the therapy. Don't think anything of it other than just I got to fix my finger. You can run with a broken finger, no big deal. So I keep running. Fast forward a few weeks, and I come home from an easy 5 to 6 mile run, and all of a sudden my back, my hips, my legs just tighten up, and I am walking like an old man who has been through the ringer.
Yeah.
And I can barely move. And so I finally go in to my physical therapist and say, hey, can you check this out? Well, he looks at it, he goes, whoa, your back, your hips are damaged. What did you do? I'm like, well, the only thing I can think of is when I took the fall. He goes, that'll do it. He goes, when you fell, it threw your hips so far out of balance and it messed up your spine. And you've just been running on it, making it worse. And the pain of the finger has distracted from the pain that was going on in the hips.
Okay.
So I've been running on these messed up hips and back for several weeks.
Jeez.
I got to the point where I couldn't run. And so that went on for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Well, the race was coming up, and after having not run for 6 weeks,
yeah,
I thought, there's no way I can do this. Like, I can't even run.
Right.
One day, my wife and I were trying to get across the street fast to go to dinner. I tried to run across the street, and it was too painful. And so I resigned myself to not doing the race. I thought, well, I tried, and it's a failure.
Yeah.
So I was really bummed, but I was also really excited to go down there, support my son.
Right.
He had 2 of his friends that had signed up. I recruited a couple of other people, my little sister, one of my friends and employees. So I was going to go down there and just support him. Well, little by little, I started to feel better. And the day before we were going to head out of town to go to the race, I went into the physical therapist. She looked at me and said, wow, your hips are holding. That's pretty good. So you're not out of balance anymore. I thought, great. That's awesome.
That's good news, yeah.
Maybe I'll find another race after my birthday that I'll go do. Well, we load up, start heading down to Moab. And about halfway to Moab, from here to this little town in Utah called Price, I'm thinking to myself, there's 2 scenarios here. What kind of a man am I if I don't even cross the start line? What is a 50-50 challenge if I don't even start it when the challenge is there in front of me?
Right.
Even if I have to walk it all day long, I could walk it. Maybe I have to sleep out in the desert overnight. But what kind of a man would I be if I don't do it? And so I've envisioned 2 different scenarios. Scenario 1, supporting the family, and then sitting there until they finished. Scenario 2, lacing up my shoes and just going. And so by the time we got to Price, I thought, I got to do this. I need to go do this. I can't not take the challenge.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of logistical things that I had to get figured out. I figured those out. And when we got down to our hotel in Moab, I looked at my son and said, hey, help me figure out how you labeled your bags. And he looks at me and goes, you're doing the race? I said, I'm doing the race. We started it together. We're finishing it together. My wife looks at me. She goes, I knew halfway down when I looked over and I saw your face.
Yeah.
Oh, he's running.
He's doing it.
So 6 a.m., the next day we're on the trail. I'm loaded up, ready to go. And I get out there and I feel great for the first 6 or 7 miles. About mile 7, mile 8, the wheels fall off the bus and I just start having pain that slows me down. And so I'm going from a combination of walking to hiking to walking to hiking, maybe a little bit of jog here and there, but most of the time I'm just barely moving.
Right.
I'm so slow that when I reach the 16-mile point, which is the turnaround for the 50K loop that we have to do, I realize there's no way I'm going to have enough time to where they'll let me go back out to finish the 50 miles. So I have to reevaluate and say, all right, I can't finish the 50 miles. I know that I don't have enough time, but I could finish the 50K. They'll let me do that. They're not going to pull me from the course.
Right.
So I have to reevaluate, and I start going with this new goal in mind. Just finish. I don't care what it takes. And so a few hours later, I crossed the finish line. Failed. Didn't achieve my target. I didn't do the 50 miles. Now, I 10x'd what I did before.
Yeah.
Last year, it was a 5K. This year, I hit a 50K. But I failed the 50 miler. I just wasn't fast enough.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing, and I think we've talked about this a few times afterwards, is I posted online afterwards because a lot of people ask me questions about, hey, how's it coming?
Yeah. How's
Hope
it
you're
going?
doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So I posted and I talked about it, and I put on there, I failed, which I did. Well, that's a factual thing. I did not complete the 50 miles.
Right,
I
yeah.
wasn't fast enough, and so they weren't going to let me go back out, and I couldn't do the 50 miles. The comments in the comment section really shocked and surprised me. Very well-meaning, very loving, but they went a little something like this. You didn't fail, you learned. You didn't fail, you tried. You didn't fail, you, and then fill in some other positive
Right.
comment.
Yeah.
And I was shocked by that in this moment of failure, people wanted to deflect from the failure. And I get it, it's well-intended. But I did fail, and that's okay. Because the whole idea of a 50-50 challenge is it pushes you to the point where you could fail.
Yeah.
And if there's not a risk of failure, then you're not going to grow from it. And I grew through so much through this challenge. Right. I became a different person through this challenge.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, I failed. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I think I learned a lot by sitting back afterwards and watching how people reacted. And it's actually turned into a speech that I now go out and give to organizations, to groups,
Right.
talking about failure, what the lessons of failure are, and how we learn by asking the questions rather than just setting the goals and telling ourselves a story.
Wow, I love that. And yeah, I followed you along on that journey, and just to see what you did, and yeah, I mean, it's a vulnerable thing to say. I failed. You talked about many lessons you've learned. What if you could share one of those lessons that you learned from failure?
I think one of the things that I've learned is, let me back up a little bit. I'm a big fan of Formula One. I love watching the races.
Yeah.
I love seeing how the drivers think, how they act. I love all of the details. I mean, these guys, they're always looking for just, I mean, if you can get a half a second, that's crazy. If you can get a quarter of a second improvement, you're world champion.
Yeah.
But one of the things I love about Formula One is that there are so many factors that go into success. You can have one of the best drivers in the world, and you can have a car where the ride height is not quite right, and it bounces all over, and you lose the race, and somebody else wins. A world champion knows that, and knows that they're not going to win every race.
Yeah.
Championship teams, they know that, and so they stay on their innovation, their evolution, their growth all the time. But they also don't take themselves down to the dumps when they lose. And they accept failure as just a natural result of trying. And so one of the things that I've learned as I've tried and failed in so many different things is that failure doesn't derail me. What it does is it just allows me to then look at the variables and say,
Yeah.
why did I fail? Okay, well, now I know why I failed. How do I succeed in the future?
Right.
I don't need to tell a story about what a loser I am, or a horrible person, or, oh, I'm so dumb, I'm so stupid, or I could never do this.
Yeah, you don't shame yourself.
No, not at all. I just failed. And there's no shame in that.
Right. And I love you say it like this: accepting failure as an option means you don't get destroyed by it.
Right.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Because we all fail. And when we deflect from that, when we try to soften it, like I use fabric softener on my clothes because I like the way they feel.
Yeah.
I don't like mental softeners. I want to, when I fail, I want to feel that failure. Because when I feel the failure, then I can then go beyond the feeling, and I can start to dissect it and understand what I can do to succeed.
Right.
And so I can't tell you exactly what it will take to run 50 miles because I haven't done it. I can tell you what it'll take to run 50K because I've done it.
Sure.
But what I can tell you is the things I learned from failing at 50 and what I would do different in my second attempt.
Right.
And I think that when we don't turn failure into this big emotional tidal wave, we learn from it.
Yeah.
We learn emotionally, we learn mentally, but we also don't necessarily even just identify with the failure. We look at it and say, yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're a great basketball player. You're a really good shooter. And shooters all know that, if the shot didn't go in, the shot didn't go in. You're not a loser because you missed that shot.
Right.
You talk about the shot didn't go in.
Yeah.
You could have had the perfect setup, the perfect stroke, the perfect follow through, but the shot didn't go in, right?
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So failure doesn't destroy us. It will destroy us if we don't face it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that just blows my mind, that we want to make everything soft and easy.
Yeah.
But then when we fail, we want to make it super hard. Oh, I'm a horrible person.
Yeah.
Well, no, we learn from failure. We learn from it.
Yeah.
But we only learn from it when we really face it and when we're honest about it. When we say, hey, I failed. Like, I have no shame in saying that. And I would say, we use the term vulnerability. You just use that term. To me, that's not a vulnerable thing to say I failed. That's a point of strength to me, because I don't feel weak and vulnerable. I feel strong when I say I failed.
Well, I use the term vulnerable as a strength.
Yeah.
When I said that.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people use it in a different way.
Right. I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
You think of vulnerable, you think of the tortoise that's flipped upside down and his belly is vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Openness and honesty, those are strengths.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't reveal some sort of weakness.
For sure.
That reveals the strength.
Yeah.
You can be strong enough to recognize that you failed.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I love that.
Because I don't need a story to tell me, oh, you're right, I didn't fail. I learned. No, that's silly. That's a story you're telling yourself. The reality is there was a 50-mile target and I failed that.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I also 10x'd what I did the year before.
Exactly.
But I still failed my target.
Yeah. And it's okay to admit that.
Excellent.
Right.
Yeah.
So good. I love that. Again, just being brutally honest with yourself. It's powerful. You're again. I love the way you carry yourself. I've always admired that. I've always looked up to that, and I've always thought, what can I do to be more like Steve? I really do. I do that a lot, honestly, and I have so much respect for you, and I don't have the words, and I'm sorry. For those listening, of the lessons I've learned from you. Like even right now, I'm being taught. And everyone that just listened to what you just shared is powerful if they'll let that in and go, okay, I need to be more like that. So again, thank you for sharing that. So beautiful. If there's someone who's tuned into this episode right now, listening to Steve Cutler, listening to these words, but they're in a dark place, they are struggling and they are, to the point where they want to even give up. Because a lot of people do tune in for that very reason, because they're looking for something. What would you tell that person right now?
So it might be something that's different than what they would expect. And it's develop a sense of humor. Humor is one of the most powerful forms of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves these stories
that
when we take a step back and we look at them, they are so ridiculous that they're humorous.
Right.
But we have a hard time laughing at ourselves for that.
Yeah.
Right? If I were to tell myself the story that I didn't fail, I learned, that's ridiculous. Like I could make fun of that till Tuesday. Like that is, develop a sense of humor. Because when you develop a sense of humor, you start to realize that the stories you tell yourself, they're not really your stories. They're just a story that you've adopted. So you may be listening to this and you might think to yourself, that guy's bragging because he went from 5K to 50K. He's this, right? That's an externalization of negativity that lives inside of you. You may be putting off the negativity that you feel inside of yourself out on me.
Yeah.
And so that's normal, right? We see people who have achieved something or someone who talks confidently, and we may externalize and say, well, he's a jerk or he's arrogant or he's this, right? So that's a way that we externalize. So that's a story we tell. The other thing that we do is we internalize and we say, oh, I could never do that. I have people tell me that all the time. I could never run a marathon. I could never do this. Like, that's a dumb story. Like, where'd you come up with that idea? You just made that story up. It's fake, right?
Yeah, it's not real.
You made it up. And I like, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, but I know they're not real, right? And the story you're telling yourself is just the same. It's Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and Gandalf, right? Like, they're not real. So your story is not real. And so when you tell yourself a story of I could never, well, just realize you're just writing the same type of fiction that Lucas and Tolkien wrote. And so look at those things, develop a sense of humor around it, and then get really curious. Just start asking a question of, well, what if I didn't believe that about myself? What if I actually went out and tried? What if I did that for a long period of time? What if I actually did this thing that I told myself I couldn't do? You know, I mean, do you mind if I tell the story about the flexibility piece? Is that okay?
Sure.
So one day we're working on flexibility, and you were pretty frustrated, and you were bending over and, you know, trying to touch the toes, and you're like, I can't do it. I said, well, you can if you just stay there that long. Like, if you took the breaths and you stayed with it, you could.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I'm like, well, that's the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
And I asked you a few questions. And one of the questions, and you can bleep this out if it's, you know, not appropriate for the podcast. One of the questions was, well, what's going to happen? Your genitals going to fall off? And you started laughing, and then you went down an inch lower.
Yeah.
And I said, your leg's going to break, and just blah. And, you know, it's like Sid on Toy Story tearing the Barbie legs.
Right.
Like, what do you think? Your legs are going to fall? And so I started throwing these things out there.
Yeah.
You started laughing.
Right.
And then you went down another inch and another inch. And I said, so if you just sat here and you breathed through it and you kept going, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if we're here for 5 minutes? Like, okay, maybe the blood rushes to your head, you pass out, and I got to like sit you back up. Are you going to die from that? No. And so then 10 seconds goes, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So it's the first time in your life at over 55 years old, you bent over and you touched your toes, and you came back up. You're like, I couldn't believe it. I said, that's the problem. It's the story, right?
Yeah.
But when you start asking the question,
For sure.
you then overcome what you told yourself you couldn't do before. What if I just stick with it and then let the results be? Maybe you won't win, right? Maybe you will.
Yeah.
But what if?
Yeah.
And so I would say if you're in a dark place, look at things with a sense of humor and really start to question that voice. That's not your voice. It's some voice that's inside of your head that's telling you that. Your brain's always going to lie to you. But then ask questions, because the answers will only come when you ask a question. If you've already determined your future by writing that story, you'll never grow and evolve.
Right.
If you ask a question, you'll evolve.
Wow. Well said. Well answered. Thank you. That is powerful. And I do agree with the sense of humor with my clients who have been through hell and back, you know, dealing with mental health issues and addictions. And they've got all kinds of stories. And, you know, they'll say something. I'm like, you know, and I'll start laughing. I learned that from one of my mentors. Is like, yeah, we need to laugh at some of these horrific things because that'll help you get through it. And so I really appreciate that advice. If someone wants to get a hold of you, Steve, and learn more about Evolve and just the things that you do and your coaching and things like that, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so a couple of ways. You can go to the website, becomeanevolvedman.com. Okay. Again, that's becomeanevolvedman.com. Or you can just find me on any social platform. So it's Steve Cutler with an underscore at the end. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere. Yeah. So Steve Cutler underscore on any social platform, or becomeanevolvedman.com. And all my DMs are open. I love hearing from people. I love it when people just reach out and they ask a question.
Right.
You know, I'm here to serve. I have a mission to transform millions of people's lives throughout my lifetime. And even if we never coach together, I hope we at least interact together, and I hope I can make a positive influence on your life.
I love it. We'll put that in the show notes. They can click right to it. And I encourage anyone listening to this to reach out to Steve if you have a question about your own physical fitness, but your mental fitness as well, your emotional fitness. This guy knows his stuff. He lives it. He doesn't just teach it. So please reach out to him. Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you
for what you've done to me. You're a mentor in my life, and I'm indebted to you in so many ways. So grateful to know you. I'm a better version of me because I do know you, and I've listened to you, and you're one of those giants that you've allowed me to stand on your shoulders so I can see further. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I feel the same.
You bet. Well, there you go, folks. Steve Cutler. Please reach out to him. Again, thank you for tuning in. As always, thanks to my sponsors. You guys believe in this, and it means the world to me. And I can't even believe where we're at right now. But kind of like what Steve was saying, I told myself a story that, what if I, got rid of the excuses and did a podcast? And here we are. 8 years later, we're in the top 100 in mental health in the world. We have 480 episodes. I've had some of the most amazing human beings on the planet on this show, and Steve's one of those. And guys, thank you for making this possible and making it happen. I can't believe it. So love you guys. Please share this episode with your loved ones and your family. If you have someone who's in a dark spot, share this link of Steve Cutler. Let them listen to the words of him, and they will be inspired and they'll want to move forward. So till next time, everyone, love you guys.